Jews remained faithful to their dream of returning to their biblical homeland.
From the Oscar-winning Morgan Freeman-narrated documentary, The Long Way Home,
We came out of the ashes of Holocaust to Eretz Israel.
to the Christoph Waltz and Sir Ben Kingsley narrated film, It Is No Dream, about Theodor Herzl, the father of modern Zionism.
What Theodor Herzl was proposing seemed, even to his supporters, an impossible goal. If you will it is no dream.
How did you get your start in filmmaking?
It was kind of the accidental career. I wanted to write. That was my goal.
Little did the long-haired Los Angeles native Rick Trank know that what would start out as a radio job at the Simon Wiesenthal Center in the 70s would turn into an Oscar-winning documentary career.
And I grew up with the Shoah as part of my whole family history. My dad got out just before, and then the Nazis marched in and lost his mom, a younger brother, the next younger brother, survived several camps. And that was, a story that we grew up with, what happened with my father and my uncle trying to get their younger brother from Europe to the United States.
Trank and his team are able to make a new film every year, many of which are about the most important political figures in European and Israeli history.
It is entirely possible that but for Winston Churchill, the Nazi swastika would to this day be flying over every capital city of Europe.
While interviewing then-President Shimon Peres for the Herzl film, It Is No Dream, Trank came up with the idea to make a documentary about Peres himself, the self-proclaimed dreamer.
People said that I'm a dreamer. It's true. But ask me, what's wrong? Who said people don't dream right?
He said to me in the president's office, oh, who would be interested in such a film? So what originally was going to be a film about this vibrant 92, 93-year-old man who's basically storming across the world, it became a film about his legacy.
Trank spent dozens of hours interviewing Shimon Peres in what would be the last year of his life. Never Stop Dreaming, narrated by George Clooney, takes us on a journey from his childhood home in Belarus.
My father's life was a journey from an old land to a new land, from an old era to a new era,
to becoming an instrumental figure in building the State of Israel.
He was a young firebrand whose visions of the future startled his mentor, Israel's first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion.
We in Israel today are still in the pioneering stage.
It's who he looked up to. He was the most important figure in his life outside of his grandfather and his father.
We learn more about Peres's obstacles and triumphs over his long political career as both prime minister and president of Israel.
A lot of people sometimes found the scale of the vision too utopian. For him, it was always about uniting the theory with a very practical implementation.
He used to say, pessimists and optimists both die, but they live completely different lives.
He was gifted with the ability to listen to others who did not share his views and still remain determined to find a path forward. President Peres was all about love and compassion.
The film also explores Peres's tireless efforts well into his 90s to inspire the next generation of Israelis to set an example to the world through innovation.
People were always amazed that no matter how old he got, first he looked good, and he stayed young in mind, made him young at heart. That's how he kept going.
And just weeks before traveling with Peres to a lecture series in China, Trank had a chilling experience in what was to be his last interview with Shimon Peres.
He was really talking about serious legacy stuff and visions and dreams. And then we finished, and he kept coming back and coming back. I spoke to his son, Chemi, about some of this. And he believes that he probably had this feeling that he didn't have much time left and he wanted to get everything out
Within weeks, Perez suffered the massive stroke that would kill him 2 weeks later on September 28, 2016, a day that forever changed Rick Trink's life.
What's that like to know you were really one of the last people to, sit with him, interview him?
It's an experience that will live with me forever. The last time that I was that affected was when my own father passed away 10 years earlier. So he was an amazing man.
Always be optimistic, but never be satisfied. Go ahead, dream.
Emily Francis, I-24 News.